There you go. Apocalypse Hero, a Gamelit fantasy, The Adventures of Dan, book number 1. It is 172 pages. It is $2.99. It's available on Kindle Unlimited. Here's the author's description. One man, one bat, one adventure. A suburb full of the undead, a city full of monsters, and Dan. Dan was just an average guy, overworked, underappreciated, and down on his luck. Until the end of the world came and gave him a system with it, and with it a chance to be what he had always wanted to be, a hero. But first he needs to learn how to help himself stop dying until he can get good. Get good. It's actually literally how it's spelled. Okay, this is an RPG apocalypse story. What that means is that like a zombie apocalypse or a viral apocalypse story, it's kind of the end of the world. And in this case, it's because an RPG system has been imposed upon Earth by aliens or some other force. And so everybody kind of has system powers. They have RPG notifications. They have maybe a character sheet. That's the kind of story, kind of subgenre that I qualify this as. And in this particular novel, the main character is well, no other way to say he's an idiot. He makes a lot of bad decisions, and during the RPG apocalypse, but he's a kind of a lovable idiot. But he's someone you root for in spite of, or maybe because he feels like the underdog. And I think at its core, that's the thing that I still liked, like the actual RPG mechanics. I've seen them before, level stats, etc. Different powers. The main character does get a couple different powers, and that's great. But because he has also the respawn ability, where he can die and then come back, respawning at his home base, or the case, he can essentially be stupid. He can make poor decisions. He cannot be the most efficient or amazing OP character, and he can still learn and kind of grow still from that fact. And I think again, it is the underdog where even though you see the main character doing maybe less than efficient things or making poor choices, where you're like, I can't believe he did that. You're still like, I still want him to win. And so for me, I think that was enough to kind of push the story forward, where you have a main character that's still relatively enjoyable. And it has kind of this darker, self-deprecating sense of humor, that I could appreciate. And going through these adventures, like fighting zombies or different monsters, getting involved in kind of this, tournament style fighting situation and fleshing out like the game or other characters and still be enjoyable. There were a few like story choices, like I know why the author did it, but I still disagree on a reader level. Like, oh, like that doesn't feel like a logical progress. Like one of the big ones for me was the main character hoards his ability points that he could have used to become better at fighting or anything else for no good reason in the story. And at the end of the story, like, oh, he's using it for this ability to advance it in this direction. But it felt like the main character wouldn't have known that in advance. So there really wasn't a point for him to like hoard those characters, except that the author knew he would need them later for book 2 or whatever. But besides that, everything else on the game mechanics side is pretty fairly, well written and connected to the actual story. So good stuff. For me, this could score 7.4 out of 10. Again, loses like a little bit, just because of a few issues, but on the whole, just it's entertaining. It's a good read. But again, you have to be okay with like an idiot main character. There are other reviews that are like, this guy is too dumb to survive, or some other reviews like a title like that. So if you don't like kind of a dumbish main character that you can kind of still enjoy or appreciate dark humor, maybe this isn't for you, but for me, it was fine. So Apocalypse Hero, a dark fantasy Gamelit Adventures of Dan book series, gets a score of 7.4 out of 10.